Hey there, this is the Holly Doll for Reality Check TV. Stay tuned, we're going to chat about all the upcoming goodness.
Hi, this is Shell with Reality Check TV Sacramento, and I'm here with the Holly Doll. This is a special series that I do. It's called Women of Passion, and I feel that she's definitely a woman of passion. Holly, it's been a journey. I've been watching you for a few years. You probably don't know that because usually what I do is I watch my specimens, my subjects, my future muses. From a stray, and I hear all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean, and good, bad, and different. And I've liked it, so it drew me definitely towards you. So here we are. We're gonna just do a kind of a quick introduction. We're gonna get into labels and branding and stereotypes. We're gonna highlight your consulting firm. But to start it off, just kind of how can we find you? I'm gonna just do the regular generic stuff to start the show off.
The best and simplest way to find me is thehollydoll.com, where you'll find my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter links, which are all just at the Holly Doll. And you can search the hashtag the Holly Doll as well to find me.
That's good. Okay, so let's just go ahead and just dive right in here and start with what's the premises of your consulting firm for girls? Is there a slogan you go by or something? What's the draw with that? Can you give us a little snip of that?
The draw with it is that the alternative industry has grown significantly in the last few years, and women are becoming more interested in it, girls and women, because there isn't a strict guideline to what makes an alternative model. It's just anything that doesn't fit into the regular fashion industry. And recently, with my publications and my successes in the social media world, everybody wants to know how to get there. And
Right.
I get emails and I get questions at least once a day with, can you give me tips? Can you tell me what you did? And I kind of thought about it. I said, well, yeah, sure I can, but that's my journey, and my journey was a lot of trials and tribulations. Yeah. So instead of having them go through the same trials and tribulations I went through, I pretty much made a package deal of a condensed version of what happened and how they can avoid my mistakes and just bank on my successes.
So you're not acting like as an agent to where you're responsible for their whole journey. You're just kind of a stepping stone.
I'm a consultant.
Okay, so in the layman's terms, a lot of people don't know what consultant means.
Think of a coach.
Okay, so so you're kind of a combination of a life coach, kind of giving them your life experience. So you probably hand tailor the packages to the individual, right? Do you do like an interview process? Can you kind of, not with all your questions, but how do you like screen?
I do full research first.
Because I know you're not taking their money and they're staying in a back room and they're not going anywhere.
No, I do full research first, and initially I offer what I call a basic consultation, and that is just finding out if they even are appropriate for what they want to do. If they and themselves, we have to be realistic. Yeah. Whether it's body types, goals, lifestyles, I know this is a pipe dream for you, but is it actually reality? Let's find out, and let's find out together so that it's not me telling you whether or not you're good for the business, but it's you realizing it within yourself.
Sure. And then, that kind of ties into when I was talking about stereotypes before as a topic. Is there, in this particular industry of the alternative model, is there, there's stereotypes and all different modeling but I know there's a heavy competition, I'm sure of it, but do people, for lack of a better word, or haters among your own group? I mean, where you're not tatted enough or you're not extreme enough. Sure. You know what I mean? It's like, so where they're like, they are an alternative, but they don't have to go to the full blown freak show. You know what I mean? Like, we just filmed a circus freak show. They don't have to go to that extreme, right?
There's folks who are extreme body modification artists and collectors who will say that you're not alternative enough. And then there's folks who are...
Yeah, you're like, whoa, I don't fit in any category
who
then.
Who are a little more mainstream and say, oh my God, that's not even pretty and that shouldn't even be modeling. That's ugly.
Okay.
And what it is alternative has very little structure. You can fit in anywhere, but it's a lot of hard work because there are not a lot of modeling agencies for alternative models. It's a lot of hard work on the model themselves.
Do they go into, like, is there the extremes where the fetish models were...
Sure.
there,
Sure.
you know, so I think that you've done a taste of a lot of different things. I'm sure you have your line in the sand, right? And we're going to
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about that in
I
the next
do.
segment. Just a little hint there. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about Holly's story. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk about, she has a line in her sand, and I didn't get that till I was much older, so she's definitely a step ahead of the game there. But so back back to that. Hey, and cut. That was funny. This is reality TV,
It is.
and that's the reality of it for sure. And with that, when you're a model, you got to go with the punches, right?
Yes.
We're gonna highlight, definitely in the next segment. We're gonna highlight some of your sponsors and some of the people that have come along the way. I know you do a lot of your own stuff. You're a self-made woman, but
But you can't do it without help.
You
I'm
can't do that.
sorry, it's
Yeah.
not. It's a collaborative effort all the way around.
how do you met some of your people? Have you maybe they were a fellow model that happened to be / makeup artist? I mean, have you done anyone else's makeup before, or just yourself? Okay,
Oh, yeah, no,
okay.
definitely. I definitely have done. I've worked with other models doing their makeup. I've worked with other models styling them, producing their photo shoots. That's part of the consultation packages
Okay.
once we pass the initial consultation. But a lot of it's I seek out new artists to work with, regardless of what their actual craft is. I want to work with new artists because
Yeah.
they're going to lead me to more and more and more.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're going to kind of phase on in. The reason why I had Holly dressed like this today is because when we're beating stereotypes, a lot of the times it's difficult for people that live in a small box that can't think outside of it. So when Holly takes her piercings off, or maybe covers up and puts her turtleneck on, maybe some of you can focus on what her message is. So now we're going to scramble it up a little bit, and we're going to put her in her natural state of being, and she's going to change, and we're going to kind of dig a little deeper into Holly's story, so stay tuned for that. Hi, this is Shell, and we're back here with the Holly doll, and we're going to just kind of phase into our next topic. As you can see, we've changed our clothes, with the magic of time and television. The reason why we did it before is because we wanted you to see Holly on her street clothes, I guess, for when she's going out there and trying to be one among. Okay, when we're here in the underground world and when we're here in the alternative world, first of all, I'm so uncomfortable with even saying the word. Okay, it's like other words that are like socially acceptable and uncomfortable. But it's the reality.
It is.
Okay, it's the reality of being alternative, extreme. I guess I'm sensitive to labels. You are, I was going to touch on it real quick a minute ago. I was going to tell you this little story, but there's some people. Everyone knows you're in recovery. Okay, maybe some people don't. Do you?
Oh, a lot of people don't.
Okay, do you talk about your sobriety? Do you believe in dates? Does it matter? Do you have multiple sobriety dates of?
I have
The
one.
last time I sniffed glue was. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like do you know how people have like 14 dates? You're like, okay, could you just wind it down to just one.
I've brought mine down to one.
Okay.
I don't really count my clean date because I don't really remember it
Yeah.
because I was still drinking at the
Okay.
time. I count my sobriety date,
Okay.
which is August 4th, 2011.
Okay, August 4th, 2011. So you just had a birthday. So
did.
that feels good.
That was awesome.
There's a lot of young people. I raised my children in sobriety. I've raised my children in recovery pretty much all their life. They were, drug up in all the different rooms, and they learned so much. There's a big thing about anonymity, but in this world and in this day and time, sometimes we gotta kind of throw that out too. How are we gonna reach people if we can't be an autonomous among our
For
group?
me, it's not about it's about reaching people, but it's more about holding myself accountable. If I don't share it with my fans, my followers, my friends, my family, I'm not going to hold myself accountable. I can tell you that right now. I need someone out there to be like, "Hey, I saw you were at a bar. You weren't drinking, right?" And I could say, "No, I wasn't."
Yeah, but that's a good point. To the people, when I was in the different times of my life, they would say, "How could you stay up all night? You must be on something." Well, no, you have an adrenaline rush. You have this really,
It's called passion.
yeah, absolutely. Can you speak to maybe, has there been anybody along the way that, maybe somebody, whether it be male or female, that maybe were inspired by some of your words without breaking the story, but just like, have you ever had anyone personally say, "Thank you, you helped me because of your trauma,"
That's what that's one of the things that makes me keep going and why I share my story so feverishly is I receive messages constantly, a
Okay.
lot via social media. I have people come down to the shop who know I work here and just let me know, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I've been sober 14 days. You're my inspiration." that right there is why I'm sober.
So you're open to that? I mean, have you, that's really important because you don't need to go to a church. You don't need to go to a room with 50,000 people in there. You can have yourself and another addict, and that's a meeting.
That is a meeting.
And that's really cool that you actually offer that up to people. That, I mean, not that you're gonna have a line at the door. Hey, Tuesday night meeting, but you know what I mean.
It's a really nice thing to be able to open up my inbox, open up my email inbox, and have someone say, "Hey, we've never met, but I follow you on Instagram. I saw that you have 3 years. I just want to let you know that I just passed my first year, and I hope one day I can have 3 years like you."
And you're a young person too, and a lot of times people will say, back in the old days, they say, "Oh, I spilled more than you drank. You're too young to have a bottom." I say pooey to that, right? Because everyone has their own personal bottom.
Yeah.
Without getting into too much detail, have you lived on the streets before? I mean, what was a bottom for Holly without breaking too much out there?
I mean, my bottom was.
Were you ever close to death or anything like that?
My bottom, that was not my bottom.
Okay.
I flatlined in an ambulance with an overdose. And that was with my mom in the ambulance.
That wasn't your last drunk.
That was not my bottom.
Yep. See?
That was not my bottom.
So you lived, so you fought, you beat death, and then.
My DUI was not my bottom. Jail was not my bottom. Losing my apartment was not my bottom. Living out of my car with my dog for 8 months was not my bottom.
Okay.
And the honest truth, I don't know what my bottom was.
Okay.
I woke up one day and said, I'm done.
So let's speak to that, to the young people. When you woke up that day and you were feeling like, when you had that line in the sand, you said, "You know what, I'm done. I no longer can live this lifestyle anymore," and you're willing to just surrender. Did you look in the mirror? I mean, you talked to me a couple weeks ago and we talked about vision boards. Can you speak to that to the people? Because that really, I listened to your radio interview, and this is a quick time, just kind of, I'm going to be like all ADD all over this interview, but a plug to that radio. Can you say where they can find if they want to hear that radio interview?
Sure. Jen Julius is a life coach, and she is one of my life coaches that I speak to a lot, and she's on YouTube. Just look up Jen Julius Life Coach, and you can see our radio interview that she and I did. We're going to be doing a second one coming up here pretty soon as well to touch on the refresher course.
Okay. Well, I got so much information out of that, and it affected me. So let's talk about the vision board, because in the interview you were like, "God, I wish you could just see this right now." I mean, this is like kind of like an example. This is a vision board. This is a rock star vision board. This is not somebody that's wanted to go to these concerts. This is somebody that, when we'll speak to that in our last segment, we're going to talk about all the business sense of stuff like that, and we'll highlight who this guy is, okay? But right now, let's talk about the vision board with this kind of like an example.
My vision boards, really, I grew up with them with my dad, and my guy, Irish Cash, he does them as well. And when I met him and I started seeing all his, I was like, man, you always marry your dad kind of thing. I was like, this guy's the right one. And I have built a vision board about 3 years ago, including, magazine covers and a family and a new car and working for myself and all of these things. And yes, it's not exactly what's on my vision board. I will admit that. It's not the car. It's not, it's not the magazine that I had on my vision board. It's not the job I had, but I now work for myself. I have a car. I have a new car. I have a family. All of these things I've been on the cover of magazines. All of these things I have on my vision board are coming to light slowly but surely.
So for the young people, and it doesn't matter I always say young people, but any people really, what Holly's speaking to, it's a tool. You learned it like in counseling, you learned it you modified it in your own way. I did one years ago with a career, and it was a career it was a job that anyone could attain. It's not like you had to go 5 years college and needed to be really, really smart. It was just learn the craft, and you could do it if you had ambition. And I always get so mad, and so I just envisioned, I want to work here, and then, one day I did. It's kind of like a smaller concept, but I think that it's the power of suggestion, right?
And if it's in your head enough, you're going to start drawing the things that you want to you, because that's all you're going to focus on. So you won't see the things you don't want anymore.
Well, I think, Holly, you're a pretty good role model for those young people. So what she's saying is that she runs her own business. She has her social media capital. Before we go into the last phase where it talks about, future businesses that you're going to have, how did you come up with your hashtags? Okay, I mean, I didn't even know when did you jump on the hashtag train? Where you feel like you were behind the curve and then you kind of took over and studied it a little bit? Because the hashtags came out
With
Like
Instagram and
with
Twitter.
Is that what it was?
I
Okay.
discovered it with Instagram.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it came out on Twitter, but because most of my business is visual,
Mm-hmm.
I don't play a lot with Twitter because Twitter is not necessarily a visual platform. I play a lot with Instagram. When I discovered the hashtags on there, my immediate one was I wanted my own.
Absolutely.
Right,
You want
well,
people to follow it.
Right, and Holly Doll is an actual, like, doll. It's
Sure.
an actual product, so that wasn't going to work. But the Holly Doll is the title, and so I went ahead and adopted that hashtag. And if you go look on it, it's all my stuff. It's either my stuff or it's people I've worked with using my hashtag.
Which is good. Which is a compliment, right?
It's a portfolio for me. I can direct someone to that. These day and age, I can't really send someone to my website portfolio because they're not going to want to filter through website. They're going to want to go through their social media, and there's my portfolio right there.
There you go. You know, it's a couple simple tools, but a lot of times the most simplest things in life are the hardest for people out there. So take note of this. The Holly Doll, she's a cut above the edge. So we'll see you in the next phase. And we're back, and what can I say? It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Just, we kind of highlighted a couple little things. There's a lot of information that is, she unfolds. She has quite the story, but you're going to have to buy her book because I know she's going to have memoirs someday.
I am.
I'm
actually working on it.
You are? I really want you to be seen in a more national platform. If you could be on a show like Ellen, let's say,
I've actually just applied to be on Ellen with my Barbie doll.
Have you? Okay.
I have.
Ellen, I love you. Okay?
Ellen, my application's in your email.
Ellen, I've actually wrote you my sad story before, but I don't think I hit enter, because I thought it was more of a Dr. Phil thing. But then I thought, you know what? No way, because Ellen is way more alternative and she's way more fair.
She is.
And so yeah, I'm good luck with that. Let's talk about some of your collaborations. You work with many clothing lines over the years, but currently right now, let's just highlight two. For instance, I noticed that you're wearing a Hellraiser shirt.
I am. I work a lot with Hellraiser. They're a local company.
They're in Citrus Heights, right?
They are.
Is that okay? Are they like born local? They're American made, right? They make it there, right?
I did a photo shoot for their Veterans Day shoot.
I saw that. It was beautiful. But I didn't know where it was.
Well, when they didn't have the right panties for me to wear, they just made me a new pair right there, ready to go.
You know what? That's impressive. Especially for us ladies,
it's just for me.
Yeah. I think you should have a problem every time. You know what? It's just not. I think I need a fresh pair, right?
Just made it right there.
I think I'm jealous of you right now. Okay, so we have Hellraiser, and they're a local company, and that's really great, and they're expanding, And then we also have this here. Tell us about this. Is this a music?
It's Lovers Are Lunatics. So Lovers Are Lunatics is put on by Jeff Henry and Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach.
Oh,
and
I love Papa Roach.
I do too, and they are local.
Side
They're
jobs,
Vacaville.
Right? Yep. Well, that's where I was in Vacaville many, many years. So, wow, so they're expanding, huh? Doing pretty smart. I like the fact that it crosses out the drugs part, sex,
no drugs,
and rock and roll.
Kind of to prove that we can still have fun and be crazy. We don't need the drugs.
I feel like life can be a drug, right? As far as addictions and stuff like that. I mean, we didn't highlight any of your tattoos this time because I think
my drug.
I think that a lot of times, Holly, that people focus on the tattoos, and I wanted to talk about other things because you do a lot of modeling. If you want to know more about Holly's tattoos, I believe haven't you done different photo shoots that explain maybe the history? I know I saw one thing on YouTube where you talked about a history of one of your tattoos.
I did.
Have you ever would you like to do something like that maybe in the future? Maybe we come back and do instead of doing our Women of Passion series, we just come in and you maybe tell us a story about every tattoo. No pressure. Every tattoo.
You know what? I am one of those people though. Every one of my tattoos does have a story. I can fill a whole hour with it.
You could? Okay.
Totally.
Well, we're gonna do that in another thing because I feel like we didn't highlight any of them. But I just didn't want to do the same thing. Let's talk about this. I wanted to keep it separate. So you have your sponsors here. Is there any other kind of not necessarily sponsors, but collaborations that you're doing with the other people that are working with you side by side?
Oh,
maybe
totally.
Time to maybe shout out some of the photographers in the past. We do have Michael Giuliani as our on staff, and he also is a private business owner, so he does a lot of different type of photography, and we also have cameraman Kev filming behind the scenes. But what about the people that have worked with you before? Maybe highlight a couple?
I work with a lot of local and traveling photographers. I try to
Okay.
snag traveling ones.
Oh, so what's the draw with the traveling? How do you find one? How do they find you?
I look through my social media.
Okay.
I find other models I admire, who they're working with. I check out their travel dates. Hey, I see that you live in Boston, but you travel to California once a year. Keep in touch.
That's pretty
Make that
smart,
work. So
huh?
I can snag new work, get something new that's fresh, that's not from this area. But I do have people that I work with consistently.
Let's talk about the apprenticeship programs that you're going through right now, and it's time to highlight where are we right now. We are
in my home away from home. I'm here more than I am at my house. This
Okay.
is Capital Ink. This is our tattoo shop. Irish Cash is our owner and operator.
Okay.
And he's
how many
also my
how many
mentor.
vendors do you have here? How many people workstations that you have operating at this current time?
We have rotating right now. We
Okay.
have 5 artists.
Okay.
And we usually have 1 to 2 guest artists throughout the year.
Okay.
And then in the summer we always run about 7 to 8 artists.
Okay, so you bulk up. You in your peak times, obviously, it's going to be like. So talk to me about the apprenticeship program. That's really interesting. How many weeks is it involved, and do you have to do written tests along with the hands-on?
You know what? There is not a time frame on the apprenticeship
Okay.
because everybody's different.
Okay.
So what it is it's more about what we complete and what we complete correctly. And correctly is not just about having the piercing come out great, but it needs to be that our hospitality with the client, our cleanliness, our sanitation, our techniques.
Because some of these piercings are quite intimate, right?
They are.
So you do full service, all body parts?
Completely.
Okay.
Yes, completely. It's quite interesting.
And have you ever, you still have the right of refusal, right? I mean, if you're like, or do you just go in and just whatever? I was a nurse, so I couldn't refuse the sloppy looking one versus the,
No. There's no refusal.
Okay.
Other than because of our location, because we're surrounded by bars, we make a personal decision on whether or not someone is too intoxicated.
Okay.
That's the only refusal.
Okay.
Other than that, and of course, if someone, the only other refusal we would make is if there's an obvious health reason that someone cannot be tattooed or pierced.
Okay, so I know that this is really. We're going to take some footage when we're done here, and he'll panorama your areas. It's very clean. Is there ever a chance where a client maybe is not a candidate? Because for me, I'm sensitive. My piercings. I have 2 pierced ears from the '80s, and I haven't had them redone. Okay, I'm actually. Maybe get my ears pierced. Would you maybe do that?
Completely.
Okay. And so that's why I insulted her earlier. Excuse me, I was in Bedazzle at Sun Valley Mall in Concord, and they used a staple gun. Okay, that's all I know.
She wanted to know what my piercing gun was.
So have you upgraded the technology since then?
You know what? That's just, I don't even know if that's technology. The piercing gun it's very traumatizing to the skin.
Okay.
So it's standard piercing needle, and the technique that a experienced piercer goes through is the best.
It's almost like a barber with a straight razor, right? It's a skill. That's.
It is. It's a craft.
Okay.
It's definitely a craft.
So are you getting close? Because I know you're advertising. Are you still doing free piercings?
I am. I'm still doing free piercings at the cost of jewelry until I've completed all of them, and there's a lot of piercings.
Okay.
And it's not just completing them once. I have to complete them multiple times.
And
perfectly.
Irish is your mentor.
Yes.
And so how many years experience does he have?
He has 15.
15 years. Okay. And was he taught in the same manner? Was he brought up into the industry, or is he, obviously he's not self-taught, but kind of in a way, or?
No, he had a mentor. He
Okay.
mentored under Scotty Bazaar.
Okay.
And that was in the Concord area.
Okay.
But a lot of it is figuring out, once you have the basics, it's figuring out what works for you, and then
Okay.
new piercings evolve, new people want newer things, new jewelry techniques come about. So things change, and he's adapted to the times.
And then you probably have had people with the gauges, right? And so
And
over
myself.
over time, what's the deal with the bigger, and then is it like tattoos where you want to get more tattoos, but then the gauge you want a bigger? At some point, don't you have to say, it's big?
I'm sure. I personally, my reason for stopping at 5/8 has
Okay.
nothing to do with anything other than a lot of jewelry companies either make small gauges to 5/8 or start at 5/8 and go to 3 inches.
Okay.
And I want to be able to buy whatever I want. So I've picked the size that everybody makes.
That seems, you're such a woman.
That's my selfish girlness.
Oh, you're such a woman. I love it.
I picked the best jewelry selection size.
Is Ira still hiring at times for? I mean, because sometimes he advertises that he needs. Does he need? I mean, this is going to come out in a few weeks, but I mean, is it like
We are always looking. We
okay?
are always looking for
They
artists.
audition or they send their portfolio. How
They
does this
send their
work?
portfolios to Irish, and that's just to our email at capitalinktattoo@live.com. He'll review the portfolio. If we don't have room in house at the time, he keeps their portfolio on
Okay.
file for when we do. But we have the room and we have the availability. It's melding personalities. It's making sure you work with the shop. And Old Sacramento, it's a love it or hate it area.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's what's best for the artist. You know?
Speaking of that, can you, before we're going to wrap up this interview, is there any kind of community service that you're doing? You know, and like I said earlier, you know, you really speak to the young people, and there is a calling out there. They're like, from as far as Santa Cruz, you have a following in Santa Cruz via my Jesse. That's a JD, you know. So give him some props, because once he knew I was meeting with this one here, apparently I'm loved a little bit more. My Christmas present's going to be better this year. So yes, you know, yes on that. But is there anything that you guys, or maybe annually you do something for the community, or because I noticed you guys do a lot of stuff. So
we're always, I mean, anything.
Or you're open to stuff too, of course.
We're open to things. We often do. There's like conventions, or anytime there's some sort of
like you do the
motorcycle
tattoo
run.
conventions, right? You go to.
We do the tattoo conventions. We do motorcycle runs. Sometimes we'll do a lot of giveaways. So a lot of times, if you come down and you bring a hoodie for the homeless, we'll give you 10% off.
That's what I just saw recently. So does that just go through the winter, or is that kind of an ongoing thing?
It's really, we make it open that anybody who has any kind of donation box, we make it available for them to bring it here. Right now, we're doing teddy bears for the kids, and we're doing hoodies for the homeless.
Okay.
So if you bring in a teddy bear or you bring in a hoodie, we'll give you 10% off of your tattoo or piercing.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is, and it can be gently used. You don't have to go out and buy something new. But
new is better. Don't be cheap.
New is better.
Okay?
New is better. But we will take a percentage off of your tattoo and piercing, because that's our way of giving back.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, is there, you know, hi mom?
Hi mom.
Anybody out there that you want to say hey to? You know.
Nah,
we love you all.
I love everybody, but hi mom.
Okay, you gotta remember that. Well, thank you so much for your time. I just think that this is good, and so to be continued. You heard it here first. She's gonna let Reality Check TV Sacramento do a more in-depth video of her different stuff, and we'll get a little bit more up close. And I've got a piece on my back I want to maybe show during that, you know, because I want to finish it. You know, I have a faceless mermaid on my back, and
I know a place that can help you with that.
That's what I thought, you know, and I think I'm comfortable here, and so I think that might be another episode, you know, because, you know, I'll shamelessly plug and be in pain for you guys for the camera, no problem, you know.
That's love. That's
love. So this is Shell with Reality Check TV Sacramento, and we've spent the last better part of a half an hour with the Holly doll.